In 1992, Busch Gardens Williamsburg, then named Busch Gardens the Old Country, unveiled a brand new ride from popular coaster manufacturer Aerodynamics. Drachenfire was a steel beast, providing riders with plenty of whiplash and headaches during its tenure. The coaster did not reflect well on Aero. The company had a long history of producing some of the most famous amusement park attractions in the world, and Drachenfire was part of a series of missteps that would eventually lead to their bankruptcy. Perhaps the most ironic part of Drachenfire and its failure was its placement, the Oktoberfest section of Busch Gardens Williamsburg. For in this section of the park, 8 years prior to Drachenfire's debut, Busch Gardens had unveiled another coaster designed by Aero. This one, however, received a much different response. In 1902 in Long Beach, California, a new type of roller coaster debuted. Its design was much different than the simple wooden coasters of the time. The ride was called Bisbee's Spiral Airship, and it is considered to be the first suspended roller coaster in the world. Riders boarded square gondolas and were taken to the main tower by a large lift hill. The gondolas then followed a simple spiral downward. This revolutionary ride closed around 1915, and a coaster of this kind would not be seen again until 1975 in Munich, Germany. Coincidentally debuting at the real Oktoberfest, Messerschmitt, a German airplane manufacturer, premiered their suspended coaster at the fair. Prominent German coaster designer Werner Stengel also worked on the project until Messerschmitt made the decision to cut costs by not implementing banked turns. Messerschmitt believed that the banking would occur naturally since the ride cars swung. Stengel left the project due to this issue, leaving Messerschmitt to debut the coaster alone. Another famed German coaster designer, Anton Schwarzkopf, supposedly hated the fact that Messerschmitt was attempting to enter the coaster industry since their company had previously only manufactured aircrafts. Messerschmitt's suspended coaster, named Alpenflug, premiered at Oktoberfest to rave reviews. However, Stengel and Schwarzkopf were ultimately correct, as after its 16-day run, the coaster never reopened, despite Messerschmitt already starting construction on a second. This was because Alpenflug's lack of banked turns was already causing structural stress during its short operation period. It wouldn't be until 6 years later, in 1981, that another suspended coaster would open, and it seemed that this one was here to stay.
It swoops and dives from 100 feet above the ground, and there's no track beneath it. Designers call the Bat the world's first and only hanging roller coaster. More than a dozen men at the Aero Hus company developed the plans. It took them 3 years. Then construction began, and John Rood made sure their dream came true.
Well, I've babysat this one for about 8 months now.
So do you like this more than probably any other ride around, or is this one of your favorites?
I think this is a revolutionary ride. One thing you can consider, when you rode this, you rode one of a kind, the only one in the world.
It cost Kings Island close to $4 million to provide the thrills and chills of the Bat. The public will begin defraying that cost when the park opens for the season on Sunday.
On April 26, 1981, the Bat debuted at Kings Island in Mason, Ohio. Designed and manufactured by Aero Development, the coaster received a large amount of media and public attention. Since the vast majority of the public were unaware of the world's first two suspended coasters, the ride was considered to be completely new and original. Audiences loved the Bat, and it quickly became one of, if not the most popular ride at the park. Unfortunately, it was also plagued with mechanical issues. The ride was wearing much quicker than expected, eventually leading to damage and cracks in the supports. An analysis of the ride's damage revealed a major problem. They forgot to bank the turns. A quote from the report explained that the natural force of the ride was trying to twist the track to a banked position. Fixing these proved to be costly, and Kings Island decided to close the ride a mere 2 years after it opened in 1983. Despite its failure, the Bat proved that general audiences and thrill seekers alike wanted more suspended coasters, prompting the development of the ride type to continue. Having been open for just over 5 years, Busch Gardens the Old Country took note of this. A suspended roller coaster would certainly have a huge draw for the still young park. With this in mind, Busch Gardens turned to Anton Schwarzkopf, who had already provided his popular Jumbo Jet and Wildcat coaster designs to the Virginia park. Perhaps still bitter about the Messerschmitt incident, Schwarzkopf agreed and began designing a suspended coaster of his own. In his factory, he designed a transportable flying coaster, and he even constructed around 75% of it before abandoning the project due to financial issues. Busch Gardens Williamsburg then turned to Aero Development, which had recently been absorbed into Aero Hus. Around this time, Aero was also asked by Six Flags Astroworld to resurrect the concept used to create the Bat. Aero agreed to build a suspended coaster at both parks, and they made adjustments to their original design to ensure that these coasters would last. Busch Gardens was to receive theirs first, in March of 1984, but due to construction delays, it would open after Astroworlds. However, the Six Flags coaster was nothing compared to what Arrow and Busch Gardens were able to construct.
Imagine yourself alone in the woods, and then it happens. You've just been bitten by the wolf, the big bad wolf. The new ride coming to life at Busch Gardens.
The Big Bad Wolf opened at Busch Gardens on June 15, 1984. The majority of the coaster was hidden within the Oktoberfest woods, with only the main drop being seen from the park's pathways. Guests could cross the Rhine River from Italy and enter the German Oktoberfest. They were then immediately greeted with the attraction's entrance. Once inside the loading area, guests boarded their cars, and the ride operator told them to enjoy traveling at the speed of fright. The cars then exited the loading area and the ride began.
The Wolf is about to take us on a seemingly out-of-control race through a maze of buildings and obstacles. The ride takes about 3 minutes to travel the 2,800 feet of track at speeds of up to 48 miles per hour. And the chase is on!
After leaving the loading area, the coaster immediately dips to the left and reaches the first lift hill. It then climbs 50 feet, and guests plunge a short distance, the track turning to the left as guests swing to the right. The coaster twists and turns through a Bavarian village, the cars free swinging whichever way their momentum takes them. The village was intricately themed, and the track was placed in such a way that guests believed that they were about to crash into the models. Perhaps the best part is that these were a complete surprise to new riders, as they were hidden from the queue and the park's pathways, with the only viewing area of the village being parts of Drachenfire's queue. After the sequence, the cars hit a brake run, leading to the second lift hill. Using the park's terrain, this lift hill takes guests 100 feet in the air. Since the hill rises with it, riders often didn't realize how high they were before it was too late. The coaster plunges 80 feet toward the river, sharply banking right and throwing guests over the water. The turn is ended by a bank in the other direction, then a left turn, and a return to the station.
The Big Bad Wolf, Busch Gardens roller coaster with a new twist. The cars hang from the track, so those of you with hang-ups over hanging out at an angle of 110 degrees had better stay home. They let us take our turn on the ride today before they shut it off, and I can tell you authoritatively that those who yell wolf aren't crying wolf. The ride is scary.
If that experience sounds mundane, that's because it was considered to be a family coaster. The drops over the 3-minute ride were relatively small, and the coaster kept close to the ground. The extra thrill was added through the swinging design, and the experience was elevated through the theming and placement. The experience at night was an extra thrill, as lighting was scarce, making swinging through the woods and village all the more exhilarating. The coaster was practically flawless, so why did it close? On July 24, 2009, 25 years after the coaster debuted, Busch Gardens announced that it would close at the end of the season. As with most coasters, rumors circulated that it was due to an accident. While this isn't the reason for its closure, Big Bad Wolf was not free from incident. In 1993, an employee was killed when he was sent into a restricted area to remove a branch from a security camera. The 63-year-old was struck by an oncoming vehicle and later died after being taken to the hospital. 10 years later, in 2003, an employee painting ride cars fell to his death when one of Big Bad Wolf's cars overturned. Despite rumors, neither of these incidents had to do with the coaster's closure. It was also believed that high operating costs and low ridership contributed to the decision, but the main reason Busch Gardens closed Big Bad Wolf seems to be that they just wanted a change. As they stated in the press release announcing the ride's closure, the Big Bad Wolf offers a thrilling ride experience coupled with aggressive ride dynamics. While it remains a safe attraction, it has simply reached the end of its service life. This press release also claims that Big Bad Wolf is the world's first suspended coaster, which it is clearly not. A year after Big Bad Wolf would be demolished, the park announced a major renovation of the Oktoberfest area. The new area would be much more colorful and modern in an attempt to draw audiences to the far corner of the park. Big Bad Wolf seems to have been a mere victim of the renovation.
Strange things happen in the Black Forest. Where things aren't always what they seem. Because thrills hide in the shadows, just waiting at every turn. Verbolten, the new multi-launch coaster coming to Busch Gardens. Brave the Black Forest.
Big Bad Wolf was demolished, the only remnants being bits of the concrete foundation. 3 years later in 2012, the land formerly occupied by the coaster would become home to Verbolten, a family coaster themed after the Autobahn. It is a worthy successor, with unique ride elements and a large indoor portion. It also pays tribute to its predecessor. The indoor section has 3 randomized storylines, with the lighting and sounds changing depending on the program. These are the Spirit of the Forest, Lightning Storm, and Big Bad Wolf. In a tribute to the closed ride, some Verbolten riders are given a trip through a dark forest, where they are being stalked by a red-eyed wolf. Also, each car has a specialized license plate. The orange car reads Wolf X Ing, or Wolf Crossing, in another tribute to the Big Bad Wolf. Finally, the finale of the ride follows the exact same path as the former suspended coaster, diving toward the river and turning a few times before entering the station. Verbolten is a quality ride, and it makes the loss of Big Bad Wolf a little easier to stomach. As for the rest of the world's suspended coasters that remembered to bank the turns, many have faced a similar fate to that of Big Bad Wolf. While many rides by other manufacturers still exist, only 5 of the Arrow suspended coasters are still operating today. One is actually the Bat at Kings Island, on the other side of the park from the original. This coaster was originally themed after Top Gun, before being stripped of its branding. Kings Island paid tribute to the former coaster by retheming it to the Bat. That said, no suspended coaster, operating or defunct, seems to be as beloved as the Big Bad Wolf. It was a truly impressive ride, and it will be remembered as one of Arrow's best, which says a lot. Many fans are still upset that it's gone, but it is far from forgotten. So that said, were you afraid of the Big Bad Wolf? I wonder whatever happened to XLR8.